Hello, hello. Welcome. My name is Dr. Jami Lee, and I am the founder and visionary of alternative healthcare solutions and also a nutritional health coach. Hey, Kimberly, I'm so excited you're going to join us here. Um, and I am excited to present to you today Nourish to Flourish, healing inflammation from the inside out. Now, I love talking about food. I love talking about nutrition, but I will put in a little disclaimer there. I do not like to cook. I like to be fed. Um, but I do enjoy the healing power of foods. I enjoy the way food can heal and transform your body. And I'm hoping that this valuable workshop will help you learn how important foods are and how it can help heal your body in many ways. Inflammation is one of the hardest taxing things on your body when it comes to that healing journey, and trying to get inflammation out of your body through foods can feel overwhelming because it seems like every food that we pick up, it's just toxic and things in there that are poison. Like, it seems like even more so today, in America anyways, it is so frustrating to read labels. So I completely understand, but today I'm going to give you some empowering tools and techniques and information on inflammation and healing the body. So bear with me as we dive into this. Okay, so the first question I always get asked, what is inflammation? And I like to present it this way because a lot of people think that inflammation is just all bad. It's not. It's actually really important. Inflammation is your body's response to injury. In other words, it's your inflammation in your body is our body's natural way of healing. So there's a different type of inflammation. There's two different types. There's the acute form of inflammation that's short term and productive, and it occurs in response of an injury or infection, bringing immune cells together to repair tissue and fight off pathogens. So, like, for example, when I broke my wrist, right? I broke it right there. It was not fun. Do not recommend going rollerblading or roller skating after the age of 40. But my bone snapped in half and then it jammed this way. Sorry for the vulgarness of that. It's just so frustrating. But when I did break my bone, of course, my body responded with inflammation. And it instantly swelled, and it's your body's natural way of protecting that arm, right? What it did was it swelled up, and it like created this pillow to protect those bones. And that's a natural good response your body has with inflammation. So you see signs like redness, swelling, and it's all a part of the natural healing and heat, which is all part of the natural healing response. However, when inflammation becomes chronic, it shifts from helpful to harmful. Chronic inflammation is slow. It's a silent process that if it persists for months or even years without any noticeable symptoms, you can do some real damage in your body. One of the ongoing triggers for inflammation in the body can be poor diet, unresolved stress, gut imbalance, toxins, and hidden infections, and free radicals. We'll talk about free radicals in this workshop as well. But they can also cause a lot of fatigue, joint pain, autoimmune disease, heart disease, and cognitive dysfunction. So, of course, I forgot to flip through my slideshow here, but these are a lot of the main ones that I would say that cause those inflammation markers to be elevated. A poor diet is really, whenever you see the poor diet, there's a couple things happening. When you see inflammation in the body, it always goes back to the gut, because food is causing that inflammation, but food is also causing leaky gut syndrome. So if you picture your gut like with holes in it, then what's happening is that that the food particles and toxins that you're consuming are going straight into the bloodstream. So that's why you can see people have immediate response. This is also allergies. You see an immediate response with allergies, food allergies, because of the gut intestinal lining that needs to be repaired. But also stress, like I said, stress can cause it, a gut imbalance. If you think of the gut lining, I like to describe it like this. Think of it in layers. If these 4 layers were my gut, you would have the first layer would be your losing words here. It would be like the mucous membrane. There we go, mucous membrane. And then you would have your gut microbiome, and then you have your gut lining, and then you have your blood barrier. So when you think of it in that way, anytime we see inflammation in the blood, then you know that this layer has been compromised. And if this layer's been compromised, that means the 2 other layers have been compromised as well. So really going in there and healing all of those layers in your body is so, so important to healing the whole body. So let me talk a little bit more about this acute inflammation. So again, joint pain, fatigue, autoimmune diseases, heart disease, cognitive decline, and skin issues. These are just some of the causes or the symptoms of acute inflammation. So let me just say this too, like with my clients, when I help people reverse chronic conditions and autoimmune diseases, this is always the first place we start. We start with healing the gut, because if the gut isn't healed up, even though we stop the things that cause the damage, we're still not healing that gut lining or supporting that gut lining to be healed in the right way to speed up that healing process. So there's lots of ways that we do that, and it also depends on your blood type. What would be your best way? What your best route to healing up that gut lining? But this is like such an important. So if you have any of these pains, aches and pains, work on the gut. That's a great way to start, and you get the most results because your gut lining renews every cell inside of your gut lining every 30 days. So that's a huge way to, like I said, jumpstart that healing journey, and really stop the progression of inflammation in the body. Now, chronic inflammation is deeply involved in the progression of human cancers. That was published in a study by Epigenetics and Cancer, as you'll see here, in 2010. And I think that we see this massive amount of cancers in our society today, but we really have to focus on that gut lining to calm that inflammation, so that we're not leaking into our bloodstream. Functional lab markers is one of the ways that we indicate inflammation in the blood. So you have your high sensitivity CRP, you have your fibrogen, you have your homocysteine, your ferritin, and your ESR. Now, I have an amazing Judy here. I have an amazing colleague, Judy Lineman, that I work with for functional lab markers. She does so much and be able to read through. We call her the little blood detective, right? To be able to run through and read through all of your labs. I don't know about you, but you probably have gotten labs done before because you felt like something was not right, and you get back your test results and say, well, everything's within normal range, right? Doesn't mean that it's normal. So I want to encourage you, if you get that in, go back to those labs, find someone to decode those. And like I said, I highly recommend Judy. I included a QR code there. If you're watching it from your desktop, you can scan that QR code. If not, there's the link right there. Book a session with Judy. Like I said, we work together really well. So, anyways, okay, so let's move right along here. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about the power of antioxidants. And if you caught Judy's workshop earlier today, she really went into this and it was so good. I'm going to bring just a little bit of perspective and kind of dumb it down for us. Judy is so great and she's so full of knowledge. Sometimes I need her to pause the rewind button on her so we can just slow down and just soak it all in, right? So I want to talk a little bit about the power of antioxidants. Antioxidants are nature's defense agents. They're silent warriors that neutralize the chaos of cellular stress, repair damage before it takes root, and protects the body's sacred vitality from the fires of inflammation and aging. So this is really explaining how much our antioxidants are going to protect our body. And you'll see a little bit more. You're probably going to be asking some questions here in a little bit. But power of antioxidants. An antioxidant is a molecule stable enough to donate an electron to a rampaging free radical and neutralize it, thus reducing its capacity to damage. So this is really, really important. And if, like I said, I'm going to dumb some things down for us. So what is a free radical, right? When I heard the word free radical, I thought, okay, this is the first thing I thought of is hippies, right? They're free radicals. And I mentioned it to a client, the free radicals in the body and stuff. And she thought it was new age. Like, no, free radicals really are cellular damage in our body. So let's break it down. I'm going to show you my little version of what free radicals are. So these are what we would call atoms, right? So we have your healthy atoms, and then we have free radicals, and we have antioxidants. So I want you to think of it like this. You have healthy atoms. It is kind of like that kid you drop off at daycare, your precious child, right? I'm in the mom era right now. So this is really relevant to me. So hopefully you can relate. But if I were to drop my beautiful, happy, healthy baby off at a daycare, right? And then some snot-nosed, booger-flicking little boy comes up, it doesn't have to be a little boy, but a little kid comes up and steals a toy from my happy little baby. That baby becomes unstable, right? She loses her mind, starts crying, doesn't know what's happening. She becomes unstable. So that's the free radicals that are stealing from that healthy atom, making it unstable. However, antioxidants is like that wonderful childcare worker who comes in and say, I got you. I'm going to get you a toy. I'm going to take the free radical away from this little bratty kid and give you back your atom and to get you stabilized, right? So that's kind of my dumbed down version of what free radicals do and your antioxidants. So I hope that makes sense, Kimberly. You're laughing and clapping. So I hope that helps you paint a picture and why we need antioxidants in our body to be able to heal and fight off those free radicals and that damage inside of our cells. So it's so important. So I love this quote. Judy and I have a lot of quotes that we love the same, that we're so passionate about this. But leave your drugs in the chemist's pot if you can heal the patient with food. I believe this is so powerful. And this is really where we're seeing success with our clients as well, of really transforming through food, starting there. And yes, of course, supplements are always a big part of that, because you do need to boost up those levels and get those levels stabilized, especially when we're so depleted in life. Even our food is depleted of nutrients. We've done a lot to our soil. We've done a lot to our crops, and they're just not the way that it's not full of the nutrients that it used to be 50 years ago. So, or even maybe 30 years ago. So there's a big difference in there. But I'll tell you, my journey through my healing my daughter, and I'll share just a little bit about what that looked like. My daughter at the age of 10 was diagnosed with polyarticular arthritis. And for those of you who don't know, polyarticular arthritis is one of the fastest growing arthritis in your body. So it starts in the small joints and it moves to the large joints. And it kind of like creates this, it makes them crippled almost, because their joints become deformed and hardened. And it's a chronic amount of inflammation in the joints. So in that regard, when we look at the foods my daughter was eating, they were not necessarily supporting her healing journey. And I'll tell you what, when we took her in to see the rheumatologist and get diagnosed, this doctor who was, top rheumatologist at Vanderbilt University in Nashville, she said to me that when I asked her about food, she says, "Well, there's no studies to prove that food causes inflammation in the body, and there's no connection between food and arthritis." And I'm here to tell you today that I have collected over 50 studies, just tip of the iceberg, that directly link the two. So if you hear that, that is old, outdated information, and that is not necessarily the case at all. So food is powerful when it comes to healing. Food is powerful when it comes to reducing inflammation in the body. And you'll see here in a little bit, I'll go over some of those things. So anyways, fast forward to my daughter, whenever she was going through this process, there were several things that I did to help heal her body. What she was looking at was being completely crippled in 8 months. She was looking at having to take injections in her hand once a week for the rest of her life, and pain medicine around the clock, whether she needed it or not, at the age of 10. Now that is what she was supposed to be on for the rest of her life, and it wasn't going to stop the progression of the disease or the arthritis, but it was only going to slow it down. And when, like I said, when I asked her about food, she said, don't even worry about going gluten free. It won't even mess with it. It just cost a lot more money on your grocery bill. And she basically said, uh, you know, you can try it if you want to, but it's not going to make a difference. And then she left without any kind of direction in that area. Pretty much just signed us up for the Arthritis Foundation and was out the door. One of the last things she did say to me before she left was to go have her eyes checked immediately. Yes, symptom management, nothing to do with healing. Exactly, Judy. And so what she said as she went out the door, she said, "Oh, go have her eyes checked immediately before we start the injections." And so I'm sitting here thinking, what on earth? Like, why her eyes? Is she going to go crippled and blind in 8 months? And so I was terrified. And being that terrified, I just went directly to the optometrist. And while I was there, I said, "Hey, doc, what does this mean?" I was supposed to tell you that she was just diagnosed with polyarticular arthritis, and they want to start the injections next week. I said, "I didn't know that arthritis affects the eyesight. I thought it was a joint thing." And he said, "Oh no, arthritis doesn't affect the eyesight." He said it's the medication they're about to put her on. It causes bleeding behind the eyes. And so they want to establish a baseline before they start the injections. Now, that was mind blowing. I said, "Shut the front door. I am not putting her on any kind of medications that can cause bleeding behind the eyes, especially if it was so important to get it started before the injections." And so what I did is I dove into some research. I found out the food or the medication they were going to put her on was called methotrexate. And I usually have a slide that shows you all of the different medications that start with the word methyl. And when you see that word methyl, that means that they're addressing the methylation cycle, which means how your body processes the foods and takes and utilizes the nutrients that we give it. So that made me think, okay, maybe she is wrong about the body's response to food, and maybe there is some solution here to food. So long story short, with my daughter, I developed this protocol that I teach today. And I also said that any live attendees that came into the workshop today would get a free copy of my book. So everybody watching today would be able to get a copy. If you're watching the replay, just send me a DM in the community or wherever you're watching this, and I will mail out your free copy of my book. Yes, woohoo, Kimberly, I'll drop yours off. So anyways, so I developed a protocol for her, but this was after going to a second doctor. The second doctor, when I talked to him, he said that she was actually he diagnosed her further with Lyme disease. So she had Lyme disease that was triggering the autoimmune disease. So often you see viruses of that caliber that will trigger autoimmune diseases. And once you get an autoimmune disease, they usually like friends, so they bring in their friends. So it kind of becomes this downward spiral. So With him, his plan was to put her on $1,000 worth of supplements a month and a straight juice diet. So for those of you if you've ever had to put a horse pill down your child's throat, I don't recommend it. 1 star. It is so difficult, and it really was not giving her life. So she was on this diet for at least 3 weeks to a month, and her stomach became distended, her eyes, dark circles under her eyes. She was starving every day. She was depressed. We were just really looking at her whole body saying, this is not right. She's getting worse. And the more I learned and realized later on, I realized now looking back that her detox pathways were not open. So fast forward to me developing a protocol for her, I really dove into research, and there's some great books out there. I usually have a list of books. I don't have that in here in this workshop as well, but hit me up and I'll send you my list of my go-to books. But as I was learning on how to heal her body, there were some key elements to healing her body. And that first was to heal her gut lining, right? The second was to make her food bioavailable. The third was to restore her gut microbiome. The fourth was to make sure that her regulate her nervous system, which we'll talk about in a little bit, and also to fully nourish those cells. I dove into blood type. I dove into Wall's protocol. I dove into deep nutrition, a lot of really good books, and then followed the research that they were providing to really develop a full encompassing protocol for her. And this is what I do for my clients today. So we went through those processes and we completely healed her gut, fully nourished her cells, and completely reversed her chronic conditions within 90 days. Now, I'm not saying that that is the story for everyone, but I am telling you that your body is so powerful. You will be surprised at how much you can change in your body in just 90 days. Almost all of our cells regenerate every 90 days. And that's why we see a lot of success in those 90 days. I think the only things that don't regenerate is the brain and that fast, or the brain and the bones. But typically 7 years is what you get, a whole new body every 7 years. So if you can imagine 7 years, you are a whole new person. Now you can regenerate those cells sick, or you can regenerate those cells healthy. And it's going to be how we fuel the body. So I want you just to remember that nobody on this earth is over the age of 7. I think that should be encouraging. We're all just children at heart, right? Okay, so I want to talk about eating the rainbow. Judy mentioned this in her workshop, and she did a great job. If you can catch the replay, I'd highly recommend it. But food is medicine. So think about it this way. When we eat the color of the rainbows, they're providing so many nutrients. And these are just some of the things. But I didn't want to overwhelm you guys today. So I just wanted to kind of briefly go over some of these. So like lycopene is full of antioxidants. So we already know why we need antioxidants, right? And that's this red one, right? This lycopene. We've got watermelon. We've got tomatoes. There's anything with that bright red fruit inside that is full of antioxidants. And then you've got orange. Whenever you see orange, think beta carotene. So this is full of immune boosting and supporting. So this is to help support that immune system. Vitamin C, which is lemons, and I always coach my clients into making cultured lemons because now they're bioavailable and they help detoxify you. Vitamin C will help make it basically helps you to absorb, and it also detoxifies. So there's so much that's so important to include in your diet every day. And if you're ever craving those lemons, make sure that you are carefully consuming them because they can detoxify, they can strip enamel off of your teeth. However, when you culture them, they're completely different and they have completely different purposes. I always like to say whenever you use the cultured lemon, you can actually use the lemon seeds as aspirin because it has the same same medicinal purposes as aspirin does. So it is a powerful way to cure that headache or calm inflammation. It's also anti-parasitic. I could go on and on. I have an entire workshop on probiotic lemons and it's probiotics for pennies. It's a great workshop. So moving on, folate in our greens. So you can get for folate that helps you build those healthy cells. This is so important because we're rebuilding those cells all the time, right? And then you have indoles and lutein, which eliminates carcinogens. And then you have, I've got my notes over here in my workshop over here, so I try to go back and forth here, guys. But then you have sulfides, which destroy cancer cells. And that's found in, yes, it's actually folate, not folic acid. Correct, Judy. And that goes back to processing our vitamin B vitamins. And I'm sure that you'll go down that road here pretty soon of learning more about folic acid and folate. Totally different things in the body. Folic acid is a synthetic form of folate. So it's not very bioavailable. I think it's like 80% of people are in our population are not able to genetically process folic acid. So it can cause lots and lots of problems. But folate is in our kale and all of our foods like that, like our kale and cabbage and different sulfur-rich foods, right? And then we have your ale sulfides, which they destroy cancer cells. So think about your carrots. I mean, I'm sorry, not your carrots, your onions, your leeks, your chives, all of those. Those are so healing for you. And then you have your berries and plums, anything in the blue area, the blueberries. I heard Judy say today that the blueberries should be called brain berries, and I think that's so true. But they destroy free radicals. They really go in there and destroy them, which I love. Resveratrol or resveratrol. I think I have an error in my spelling there. It decreases your stored estrogen. So that's a big thing. And it also is powerful for the brain as well. And then, of course, fiber. We do need fiber. It's so important to understand that there's all in its natural forms, right? However, in the fiber sense, when we start getting to these juicing diets, when we're removing the fiber from our juices, then we're messing with our insulin levels. There's a lot of different imbalances that's happening. And fibers, if you think back 500 years ago, or even 200 years ago, the fibers that we're eating, as far as our corn and our grains, they were fermented. And they were broken down by that microbial process so that our body can consume them. So there's a big difference in just jumping into fibers that are not fermented versus taking your fiber in or those grains in the right way. And I always, when we're healing the gut, there's certain fibers to go in. Hey, Sheila, you made it. Certain fibers that really help support that gut lining. So another one that I really like is psyllium husks. That one is so powerful to be able to help clean out and detoxify that gut lining and make sure that we're going to the bathroom at least twice a day. And that is a really big helper. So, okay, so I'm going to talk about the stress cortisol inflammation loop because that's actually really important to consider when we're talking about inflammation. So, chronic stress is one of the most overlooked yet powerful drivers of the inflammation in the body. When we experience ongoing stress, whether it's from the daily pressures or unresolved trauma, which we had Kate's workshop earlier today, really addressing those emotional issues, or even the emotional overwhelm, the brain signals the adrenal glands to release cortisol. And that's our primary stress hormone. Now, cortisol is not bad. We still need cortisol. But while cortisol is meant to help us survive short-term threats, and the constant elevation over time will disrupt the immune function and imbalances our blood sugar, and then it weakens our gut integrity. and it promotes the release of inflammatory chemicals. So this stress cortisol inflammation loop that happens, that's where the body remains in a state of a low grade alarm. So unprocessed emotional trauma can amplify this loop and keeping the nervous system into a fight or flight state and preventing deeper healing. And when we get into that cycle, our body is not able to be in the rest and digest state. So it's so important to make sure that we're not in that inflammation loop. So breaking this recycle requires more than just rest. It calls for the nervous system regulation, emotional release, and nourishing practices that restore safety and balance from within. And this and Jody Solberg is so good as well of being a resource to help you to regulate that nervous system. That's one of the things that I really love about alternative healthcare solutions is that I don't have to be an expert in blood chemistry. I don't have to be an expert in hypnosis and nervous system regulation. I can just be an expert in helping you guide your body through the right direction and connect you with the resources that are available for your complete transformation. And that's what I love about bringing together with all of these amazing practitioners and these colleagues of mine. They're just a complete, beautiful picture of that healing transformation. So I want to say too to this, my story in this stress inflammation loop really went back to a lot of stress that I was carrying, and Kimberly can attest to this. I always call it my demon in my shoulder. I would have this chronic pain in my shoulder, and it was so bad that it would knock me out for days. I would be completely bedridden with this massive migraine just because it would flare up. And I started to pinpoint that it was flaring up in a stressful relationship situation. And I didn't notice it until one day I was at a chiropractor, and Lord knows we love our chiropractors, and I'm pro chiropractor. But I've spent thousands and thousands of dollars at chiropractors. I did what do you call it, acupuncture, which I have a hilarious story on acupuncture. Um, it, this is how chronic my pain was in my arm when I tried acupuncture. It was, this quiet room, and they have this music playing that's really soft, calming, nerve calming music. The lights are dim. You're in the zero gravity chair. You've got waterfalls playing on screens everywhere. So it's just this constant sound of water and peace. And everybody whispers. They tell you to not bring your phone in the room. And it's so quiet. And I'm like, oh, I'm really going to get some rest here. So the acupuncturist comes in, and she puts a what was it, a needle in my arm here, which the pain was back here, but she puts a needle in my arm here. And as she does, and we're talking like the first layer of skin, right? My leg on the opposite side of my body flew up in the air, and I said a bad word as loud as can be throughout the entire room. And I felt so bad. My face was red. I'm just like, I'm so sorry. Like, I had no idea that my arm was connected to my leg that way, and it would cause such a ruckus in the room. And I was so embarrassed. But when she looked at me, she said, it's okay. It's okay. She said, let me ask you this. She said, have you had a really stressful, high stress job for a long time? Like it feels like you've been like an ER nurse or something for 20 years. Like that's what your nervous system is saying. And I'm like, no, I've been in a rough marriage for 20 years. And she was like, oh yeah, that's it. And that was literally what she said. My nervous system was just trashed. And like I said, I didn't really recognize this until my chiropractor, who I'd spent so much money on and been going and seeing him for years. He put his hands on my shoulders, and he was like, well, I'll see you next week. And I'm like, okay, hold on. I'm like, I've been coming here for 2 years solid, and I'm still getting adjusted the same way. And I still have this chronic pain. It flares up once a week at least. And I said, what is the deal? Am I going to see results in this? And he said, well, you're never going to see any healing until you um, stop being so stressed. And this was, of course, I've kind of told my stories out of alignment here, but this was before I went to the acupuncture. And I was like, I am not stressed. Like, I am not, I've got a good life. I am not stressed. But I didn't realize that my body was signaling that inflammation loop, how stressed I was, but it was my normal. And so I experienced it as my normal. I experienced my mom in a similar situation and where it was her normal. And it just really didn't resonate with me until I went in and went through that acupuncture and seeing how much my body was carrying and how much my body responded. Um, and it wasn't until I went through my own daughter's protocol to put my body and my inflammation into repair and my nervous system in repair, that I finally did find that being truly set free from that demon being cast out of my shoulder. Anyways, I just encourage you to listen to the body. If your body is screaming, then it's most likely your subconscious is screaming as well. So I want to ask you this too. Do you need an oil change? Oil changes it's so important to understand the damage that oils can do in our body. And Judy addressed this as well in her workshop. Yes, inability to maintain manipulative correction is connected to adrenal dysfunction. Yes, stress. Yes, Judy, that's right. And our body truly does communicate with us. Yes, that's exactly right, Jody. An oil change. Um, yes, Kimberly, in spite of years of stress, there is hope. Yes, there is hope. So, do you need an oil change? This is a great starting point to look at your body, because I feel like we are in our kitchen, we can actually cause so much damage to our bodies just in our kitchen alone. And Judy mentioned in her workshop earlier that fats are not bad. I agree, 100%. Fats are not bad. We need fats. Our brain needs fats. Our brain needs fats so bad. Our nerves need fats to coat those nerve endings. Fats are huge and so important. But however, the correct fats. So think of oils that are high in omega-6, like soybean, corn, canola, safflower, and sunflower oils. Those can disrupt the delicate omega-6 to omega-3 balance in the body and promoting the chronic inflammation at a cellular level. Heated or refined oils can create bad lipids in our body. So those harmful compounds that cause damage cell membranes, the DNA damage, the mitochondrial damage, and impairing the energy production and accelerating aging. So really, be aware of the oils that we have in our foods. So also the cell membrane is made up of fat. And the quality of the fat that you consume determines how flexible or permeable and communicative they are to your cells. So poor quality oils make your cell membrane stiff and dysfunctional, interfering with that nutrient absorption and detoxification. So it's so important. Vegetable and seed oils are often chemically extracted with solvents like hexane. So this can again cause damage to our body, and those cellular disruption. Damaged oils can impair the insulin signaling. So you're seeing this big rise in insulin resistance and blood sugar dysregulation. This is a big issue in our society. And then you have trans fats and oxidized fats that linger in the body for years. There's literally some of the damage, the free radical damage that bad fats can have on your body can take years to heal and reverse. So I highly recommend going in and looking at your fats. What are some better choices? Better choices. It's scary, isn't it, Kimberly? A lot of people, you got to think about it like this. I don't, the fear too The fear that we have of being completely anti, does this have oil in it? It's going to cause stress in that cortisol level. So you've got to just really take it a day at a time and just make the best decision. So I don't want you to be so stressed and fearful over oils that you cause more cellular damage through stress, because it's not going to help you any. But better choices to focus on that anti-inflammatory are stable fats like extra virgin olive oil. Consuming this in the raw form, do not cook it. Never cook with extra virgin olive oil. It does change the molecular structure. Olive oil, though, you can cook with that. Grass-fed ghee, coconut oil, those are all good fats. Omega-3 rich sources like wild salmon, flax. Although I would say flax in the whole form, not necessarily flaxseed oil, because it can go rancid pretty fast. But these support the membrane integrity, the hormone production, and the cellular resistance. So maybe you need an oil change. Avocados are fantastic. Consuming avocados is a great way to really nourish the cells. So I want to talk about my favorite part, quantum healing. This is really special to me because this is where I ended up really finding that full transformation of my own body and my own life. And quantum healing is what I ended up getting my doctorate in. So I have a PhD in quantum healing. I found that my clients that would come to me when I was doing the nutritional health coaching and helping them reverse chronic conditions, whenever I would do the onboarding session and we would talk about their body and how the body, what their symptoms were and everything else, I would say, well, tell me about your story. What happened? What's going on in your body? And they would voluntarily say this from their subconscious. It was like their subconscious knew, even though their logical mind would not know, but they would say, well, it all happened when my dad died, or it all happened when I went through a divorce, or it all happened when I found out, my child had this disease. So it was some sort of emotional root cause that dysregulated their immune system, right? And it threw them into that stressful state, that sympathetic state. And then they would have these whenever I would interview them and they were telling me about these horrible stories, they would go down this long story of, the hearing about their dad dying, or, however that traumatic emotional event happened. And then they would realize that I wasn't asking about that, even though I was. And they would say, oh, I'm so sorry. I don't know where I got off on that tangent or how it relates to this. But I'm like, you don't understand how much it does relate to the body. So it's very important information. So I really want you to understand that all of it, the mind, body, and the spirit, is so important. And that's why it's so important to have a team of people to help your healing journey. So quantum healing, you're probably thinking, what is it? Well, I like what Deepak says. He says, every cell in your body is eavesdropping on your thoughts. And that is a good way to introduce what quantum healing is. I'm going to show you this little video here. Hold on, actually. We do this all the time. Jody's done this workshop or done this little analogy before. But you can either close your eyes or you can go through this. Oops, I messed up here. So you can close your eyes or you can watch the video, but it's more powerful if you close your eyes, just so that you can experience how your body responds. But what I want you to do is I want you to take a moment to take a deep breath and then release it. You can breathe in through your nose and out through your nose. Take a minute to just feel your body. And then I'm going to take you through an analogy, and you can just kind of watch along as we follow along, or you can just picture it in your mind. So closing your eyes works, but you can also watch the video. So what I'm going to have you picture is I want you to picture that I'm giving you this lemon. It's a big, juicy lemon. And this lemon is been squeezed and rolled around. So it's all the juices are just flowing. And just picture all of this juice surfacing to the top of this lemon. Now what I want you to picture is, as you've seen all of this lemon just dripping, right? This beautiful lemon dripping. I want you to imagine that you're going to take a big bite out of that lemon. Now, I can't get through this analogy or this video, this demonstration without my jaw locking up. I don't know if you had any of those experiences where you're starting to feel it tinging back here in your salivary glands, or maybe I had one client that actually started to feel it on his hands because he used to have a lemonade stand, and so anytime he'd get little cuts, he would start to feel those cuts. But your body is preparing to respond as the images play in your mind. That is what's happening. So, in the quantum field, the things that we put in our mind and we visualize, that is how our body starts to respond to that. So, I want you to really meditate on that as we are going through and exploring the body and how to heal that body. When you focus on those things that cause fear, the things that cause stress, the things that are damaging to your body is actually responding and preparing for that. So, what we want to do is we actually want to focus more so on how we want our body to respond. You can visualize your body in a healed state. You can visualize the molecules in your body. You can visualize the cells, the damage, the free radicals. That little demonstration that I took, take a bite of your antioxidants, slowly consume it, and just picture those little smiley faces or those kids at the playground taking toys from each other. That is how your body is responding, as your body will actually go in and respond. So I want you to picture the healing aspect, not the damage that's been done. Don't worry about it being too late. That's not necessarily the case. Your body can heal, and it is amazing. Um, but we've got to prepare the body to heal by preparing the mind. So everything at its most fundamental level is energy. And I love all the energy work that goes on inside of Alternative Healthcare Solutions with Kate and Jody. And really people, when we realize our body and start to understand it in that level, you're realizing that you're actually doing energy work within yourself. So every cell in your body produces energy, frequency, vibration, and resonance. When these frequencies are in balance, the quality of life is optimized. And this is in quantum physics. It is a quantum physics truth. So I found this was really fascinating too. The biochemistry of our body stems from our awareness, belief, reinforced awareness becomes our biochemistry. Each and every tiny cell in our body is perfectly and absolutely aware of our thoughts, feelings, and of course, our beliefs. And that was published right here. I included the link and the QR code if you want to screenshot that, if you want to go and explore that, is literally in science. We're proving this in science. So I want to give you an example, and it's not just us as humans. When I was studying for my quantum healing PhD, there was a lesson that we went through this entire course, and we were studying a study that was done on plants, and this was such a incredible eye-opening experience for me. But when they talked about the plants, there was a study that was done in this lab that they were exploring plants, and they hooked up plants to basically like an EKG machine. So it read off that biofield of the plant. And they had a little graph, and it was charting the pulse, right, of the plant. And as the scientist was sitting there staring at the plant, he's looking at it and he's thinking of what he could do to the plant in order test to see if he could cause a reaction in the plant. So he's sitting here and he's looking at it and he thinks, I bet I could tear up some of the plant leaves and see if I get a reaction out of that. And just his thought alone caused the plant to skyrocket on its chart, on its EKG. It went through the roof. It caused stress on that other plant. So I want you to think about that. No, I'm not joking. Think about that in a plant. The biofield of the plant and the human was able to connect and read and sense that. So think about how important our external relationships are and who we're with, right? So there was more to the story. So what the scientist did was he's like, this is crazy. He's like, I'm going to go ahead and test this theory. And so he went back to the lab room and he grabbed another one of the scientists. And he said, hey, this is what I want you to do. He said, I want you to take this other plant that's an exact identical plant. He said, I want you to take this plant into the work desk of the other plant. And he said, I want you to start burning the leaves on the plant in front of that other plant. And he said, but I don't want you to think about it. I want you to just do it. I want you to go and do it. So he said, okay. So he goes in there, he takes his plant, he sets it down in front of the other plant. The EKG was all normal and stabilized of that plant. And so then he just quickly took the other plant and he grabbed a lighter and he started to burn it. And as he was burning this plant, the plant on the EKG again went through the roof. It was all over the place as if it was having a heart attack. It was actually experiencing trauma. Like, how wild is that? And how wild is our bodies and our subconscious mind and our innate ability to understand our environment? It is so powerful to understand this. So I think that science needs to dive deeper into this quantum aspect of healing. But we'll see that eventually. Eventually, when now we have, the Maha Nation, I guess. But this is so powerful for you to understand how amazing our bodies are. But here's the cool thing. I want to ask you, what are you believing for your body? What are you believing for your healing? For me, going into quantum healing and finding what my beliefs were, really diving in and finding what was at the core level of my pain and my disease, right? Was finding that my belief systems have the biggest impact on how my healing journey was happening. And when we are in those low frequencies, let me give you another example of one of my beliefs now. One of my beliefs now is that I believe that the plants and food that comes from the earth, they exist and they have high frequencies and they're made for us to consume. And the reason why they have high frequencies is because of my belief in how they were created. They were created because our maker spoke into existence these plants. He spoke into existence the vegetation. And it was in those frequencies of his voice that became the life on earth, right? And then we were told to consume those foods. So our bodies gravitate towards life-giving foods. Just like a plant will gravitate towards life, they will, gravitate towards light. They'll gravitate towards the window. It's not because they have a brain. It's not because they know. It's because that innate ability inside of them to know what is good for them. So a lot of people come to me for food and they say, I want to get my food on track. I need to heal my body. And that is their intuition telling them that they need to raise and elevate their frequencies in their body so that we can start addressing those emotional root causes that we're facing. So I'm believing for you that you can heal your body. I'm believing that you have power to really dive in and explore what is going on in your body, and that you have intuition knowledge as to what's happening. You know your body better than anybody. And as Judy likes to say, you have lived in your body your whole life. You are the expert of your body. We are just here to help connect you to that subconscious mind to help you bring awareness to yourself as to what your healing journey looks like. So that is that's my workshop, guys. I hope you were inspired by this. I hope I gave you some little bit of nuggets and inspiration. I do offer a free consultation, and if you scan that QR code or go to heal.me/Jami Lee, I'd love to talk with you and just go in and see what you're believing for your body. and what your healing journey looks like. So I will open it up to any questions if you guys have anybody. Thank you, Jody. Thank you, Kimberly. If you have any questions, I'm happy to chat or just go back to the plant conversation because it was so cool. I love this information. There's so many research, so much research has been done on plants nowadays that I think is so powerful for us to understand. Um, if you're a gardener, you know that back in the day we would put seeds in our mouth, and but the farmers they'd put the seeds in their mouth and they'd get them wet and they'd stick them in the ground. Those seeds, I don't know that they knew this on a scientific level back then, but those seeds actually would read the DNA and they provide those nutrients when they grow for that farmer, which is amazing. So even if you can throw some seeds in your little garden window or on your deck and put them in your mouth a little bit and put them in there in the seeds, well, wash them first. I would say wash them first because now they coat them, so get organic and heirloom and all of that. Rinse them off, but then stick them in your mouth before you plant them. It's pretty incredible how they can read your DNA and provide nutrients for you. So anyways, yeah, it is incredible. Yes, and stunning. It is fantastic, isn't it? Our bodies are amazing. Food is amazing. The healing power of food is so incredible. So thank you for everybody who's joined our workshops, and please check out our community. You may be watching this in our free trial, our 7-day free trial. We encourage you to join and stay around because it's only $35 a month. And beyond that free trial, you're going to have access to all of these live events that we host. You're going to be able to come on and ask practitioners questions, engage with us, and really tailor your healing journey to you. Like really dive in with these practitioners and ask questions about your body, whether it's from your labs, your subconscious beliefs, or the foods that you're consuming. You are a mind, body, and spirit, and we have offered resources for you to heal from the inside out and to not just nourish the body, but really flourish. So thank you for joining us, and I hope you guys have a blessed day.